Yes, I have the privilege of introducing Dick. Most of you know Dick, but he's my brother-in-law. We don't like each other, but we're forced into it due to marriage. I'm just going to give a little brief history about Dick, because most of you will not know these things. He was born in Texas. Of course, he ended up in Florida. He went to Florida Southern College, got a degree in psychology, went on to Candler School of Theology in Emory in Atlanta, got his Master of Divinity there, and has served as pastor in the Methodist Church in the Florida Conference for many years. His longest stint was, I believe, at Christ United Methodist in Fort Lauderdale, and for 18 years. And then in 2004, he was elected as a bishop at the United Methodist Church, and his 8-year appointment was in Tennessee, most of Tennessee, Nashville area, and Memphis. And then when Dick retired, he came back to Lakeland to be closer to family and to get to know me better. And by the way, it's great to see all of your faces. I'm usually at that back table there. We didn't know what a handsome group this really is. So Dick, upon his retirement, he's been a counselor to many, a friend to all, and he's got a good story to tell. Dick, welcome.
I'm fortunate I can still walk a little bit. I had polio when I was 1 year of age in Texas, and they diagnosed it as a deficiency of vitamin C. So I got lots of orange juice, but didn't help the polio. A little later on, they made the diagnosis, and what affected me, I had a very slight case of it. I had some disformed my left foot, and I did pretty well, really. But when I was in about the first or second grade, my left leg, which was my polio leg, quit growing. So then it meant that 3 times a week, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday after school, my mother would drive all the way across Houston, Texas, to a polio rehab facility where they would stretch and pull the leg and stimulate it and try to get it to grow. And then I would sit in warm, hot water, which if you're of that generation, that was the treatment for polio. But they now know that hot water does nothing for you. It just feels good. So, but I did enjoy all those warm water baths. So, you can always, 2 men looked out, one saw bars and one saw stars. So it all depends on how your frame of reference. Now, my polio was not severe. It didn't cause me to be crippled other than having the deformed foot and partial leg. So I was able to do sports and play. I couldn't run as fast as everybody else, but I did pretty well. And I actually played racquetball a good part of my life. And racquetball, if you're not aware of it, it's really a mental game. So when I was going to play somebody I didn't know, and they were pretty good, I would say as we were warming up, I had polio as a child. And they would do exactly what you did. They would laugh. And so then I would say, no, I'm serious. And I would sit down on the court, take off my polio shoe and my sock, and I'd stick it out and I'd say, see there? And the person would be like incredulous. And then I would say, if you'd had polio, I wouldn't make fun of you. And those 2 comments would normally cause a very good racquetball player to who wants to beat a cripple? And they never did. So all you have in racquetball, it's a mental game, so all you have to do is let off just a little bit of intensity, then the game was mine. So I've had a wonderful life. I've enjoyed it. I've made fun of the polio. I've never failed to appreciate people who struggle with it much worse, because mine was really very mild. So I'm trucking along in my life, and I've made fun using the polio foot so many times. And one of the things they tell you about if you've had polio is to exercise. Well, that fit my kind of A personality just fine. So, man, I have done everything. I've been a runner, I've climbed mountains, I've been a bicyclist, I've done all kinds of things as hard as I could. And then it was just before retirement, they came to me and they said, you know, we told you the wrong thing. Because you've exercised all your life, you're probably going to lose your legs. He said, but if you've been moderate, they probably would have stayed with you the rest of your life. Well, I thought, bummer. But I thought about it for a while, and I thought, would I do anything different if I knew that? No. Yeah, I've had a wonderful, wonderful life. So the problem that they were describing to me is called post-polio syndrome. And it's been a discovery for me to find that I actually have had polio in both legs. My good leg, which I thought was always my go-to, is now become weak as well. And what happens in post-polio syndrome is you just gradually lose the use of your legs, which I thought, man, I'm the luckiest guy in the world. This thing, I did that in retirement. What if I had been active? That would have been awful. But me, I was able to go my lifetime active, and then as I retired, this came up and I had to deal with it. So it's not bad. There's nothing they can do for it. They suggest you keep walking as long as you can, but when you can't, be okay with that, and I am. My legs have been really good friends, and I've gotten a lot of use out of them. But if they need a lifelong rest here, I'm okay with that. A couple benefits of it. It's caused me to refocus my life. You know, all of my life I've been doing, and I've been really pretty successful doing. But this portion of my life, it's taught me to focus on being. And being is really a very high quality thing. So I've been doing a lot of being because I can't stand very long. So I sit most every day, but I'm having a wonderful time of my life. All of you are pretty kind. You don't make fun of me. I haven't had to tell anybody my polio story, so spared you of that. But polio's, I've always been grateful to Rotary for what they've done, because like no other organization in the world, had it not been for Rotarians, polio would still be a terrible disease. And once we got a handle on it with the Salk polio vaccine in the United States, pretty much we kind of went out of our mind. But then it was Rotary that brought to the world's attention, no, it's still very active in different parts of the world. And today, we are very close to completely eradicating the world of polio. I think there's only one or two countries where it's just breaking out a little bit again, but Rotary keeps working at it. And so I'm grateful to all of you, the coins you've put in the bucket and what you've done as Rotarians, because it makes the world a better place. And I think there are lots and lots of kids growing up today who don't have to make excuses for their legs, or they don't have to live in an iron lung. They have a nice long lifespan because we don't have polio anymore. Well, I didn't mean to talk on and on, but I just wanted to share that with you. I didn't know if any of you had any questions. Yeah. When I had polio, no pain. But the post-polio period has been extremely painful. So it's like, well, I'm not walking any place, so it doesn't matter. So, just one of those things. Yes?
Could you comment on how common post-polio syndrome is? I mean, you were infected, I mean, your father.
It's kind of snuck up on everybody, like it did on me. Post-polio affects anyone who has led an active life. And that is if you've been active. I have a friend of mine that's a bishop in the Methodist Church, and she had polio more severely than I did. She's always been on crutches and struggled to walk, and I shared with her post-polio. No, she had never heard of it. So she began to find more about it, but now she is confined to a wheelchair because it's affected her, because in her role as a pastor and as a bishop, she had really worked to get around to people. Well, that's your undoing if you've had polio. So there are a lot of people who had polio and they don't have any outward effects. But there's a whole bunch of people like me who did a lot of exercising, did exactly what the doctor said, and then you find out that that was the wrong thing. Now, the thing for me is that it's very hard for me to find any doctor that knows about post-polio syndrome. They all say they know it, but they don't know it. I mean, just think about it. They don't teach it in medical school anymore. People don't have it much anymore. So really it's hard to find. I found one doctor who's over in Orlando who knows anything about post-polio syndrome. So it moves along, and you just do the best you can with it. So it's not bad. At least mine's were not bad. A lot of people had to live in iron lungs. They had it so much worse than I did. Okay. A little bit, but we're living in rural Texas, so there weren't many people to be afraid of me. So I didn't have to deal with that very much. Oh, I would say that Nordstrom's shoe store, just as an aside, Mrs. Nordstrom had polio and as a young woman. And so they have a policy, they still do today, that if you have more than 3 size difference, if you have more than 2 sizes difference in your shoes, they will sell you a pair of shoes, and you get 2 pairs of shoes, 2 different sizes, for the price of 1. So that you may know somebody who may not be polio, but may have some other reason that they have severely different feet, and that could be a big savings. None of my siblings had polio.
In that part of Texas, when was the Salk vaccine introduced? Obviously, it was after you struck.
Yes. See, I had mine so early, it'd been 1943 or 44. So the Salk vaccine didn't come along until the 50s.
Did you ever take the vaccine?
Oh yeah, they said everybody had to take it. Because they still didn't know if you could catch it again. I mean, there's a lot unknown about it. In fact, post-polio syndrome, people thought the disease had come back, but it had not, as it turns out. Okay, well, thank you very much. You've been very kind and attentive.
I think I forgot. How many kids have you got? Yeah, 4. When he was in Nashville or Tennessee, he was a bishop for the whole state. He was a motorcycle riding bishop too. What was that? What were you driving? Harley Davidson. Harley Davidson guy. So yeah, he definitely did not let any of that have an impact to him. I'd like to invite Mark Skolnick to come up for a minute and again tell you more about what we can do to contribute and support this End Polio campaign.
Thank you, Joel. Thank you, Dick. It's a great story that you're able to tell us. I can remember being given the shot in grammar school, they lined us all up, and there was no questions. Parents were very happy because they were deathly afraid that we would get polio. Dr. Salk did not patent the vaccine. And that's one of the reasons that we today can give whatever vaccine is needed for $100 per person. Okay? We have, through Rotary, saved over 350,000 people because of our efforts. Our efforts were started by 2 Rotarians in the Philippines. I read one place it was 1, then he had lunch with another Rotarian, so I guess it's 2. And that's how it started. And if it wasn't for Rotary, we would not, the world would not be this close to getting rid of polio. So, what do we do now? Well, first of all, I first heard about the post-polio syndrome at a district conference many years ago. I don't remember how many years ago. We had in Massachusetts, because we had a local doctor, they had a clinic just for polio survivors in Massachusetts. So what Dick is going through is not all that rare. Now, how do we finish the job? The Gates Foundation is matching whatever we raise this year, 2 to 1. I'm going to give you the phone number to Rotary International. You can call them, use your credit card, tell them it's for polio. They'll look at it up. You get Paul Harris points. If everybody's ready, 866. You can do it up until 7 o'clock any night because they're on standard time. And the nice people there will tell you. So it's, everybody ready? 866 976 8279. I'll repeat it. 866 976 8279. Or you can go online at rotary.org-give, and actually they've changed it so it's even easy to use your credit card, and they'll help you find your ID number. You don't have to worry about that, and we can get this job finished so that my grandchildren and my great-grandchildren and yours as well will not be at risk, because it's not just giving the injection. The water system needs to be checked. They're finding that if it's in the water system, it's not open. So they have to give the vaccine, and then they're checking the water system. Well, clean water is something else. Now, Bill Gates said at the Atlantic Convention that we can't deal with malaria until we finish polio. So in his mind, I took that as our next thing will be malaria, but that's not been decided. Thank you for your time. I'll be here for a minute or two afterwards if you have any questions.